Go on then.
Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. Here as always with my very good friend Jose Noya. Unfortunately, we are without Ryan this week. He's got some stuff to take care of, but I'm sure we can give it a go by ourselves. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good, thank you, Lee. Very, very good, thank you. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, bless him. So we'll just, when he comes back, we're sending the love. Always, always.
Absolutely. Glad to hear you're doing well as well. Thank you everyone out there for supporting us, listening on whatever podcast platform you're on, or following us on YouTube. Or of course, the best way to do it, you can be with us live on both YouTube and TikTok. _Inspiration Nation on TikTok, and just search for Jose Noya Inspiration Nation on YouTube as well. Hit subscribe and you will be told when we are going live.
Love it.
Leave us a review, hit like, 5-star button, all that good stuff. So, Joe, I believe that I might be the master of ceremonies this week. Is that correct?
You certainly are, yeah.
I'm going to hijack next week, by the way, because next week is our 4-year anniversary. Just want to put that out there to everyone. So we would really love it if you joined us next week, where we will do a 4-year retrospective. But for this week, we've talked about this in various guises, but I was thinking about this during the week, and I want to talk about the power of gratitude.
Ooh, Joe, I like that. Power of gratitude, yeah.
More importantly, why I think it's important to exercise it as well. And there's lots of different ways to do this. We'll get into all of that, but I think it's really good to talk about. So before we start, Joe, this is something, obviously you're a big advocate as well. So what does it mean to you personally when I talk about gratitude, or I say, do you exercise gratitude? How would you explain that to someone?
So I can tell from a personal perspective, and I just, for me, it's just thanking, just saying thank you for the things that I do have, and currently being grateful for what I have right now and where I am, and actually taking a moment in the moment to be where I am. And if I was explaining to someone else, I would just say it's appreciating, what can you appreciate where you are right now? It's just about appreciation for where you are, and what's the good things that you can appreciate, like the smallest things you can imagine that you think are small but could be really big things. So like for me, it's just being able to like walk in. We've got a local sort of cuckoo trail here, just to walk there and listen to birds, be able to see the birds and stuff like that, and just appreciate that moment and being grateful for that. And that never used to happen before when I suffered, as I've said in the podcast before, with mental health. I didn't really sort of see that. I didn't really recognise it. And that's really helped me. That's what I think. That's for me. That's what gratitude is for me when you say it.
No, that's good. Thank you for sharing on that, and linking it back with how that's helped you and stuff in the past as well. So, for those who, some people might do it, some don't, but the textbook way, if you like, of practicing this would be at the start of the day or the end of the day, you have a gratitude list where what you do is you write down, I think 3 is normally the standard people say to go to, but 3 things that you're grateful for. And like you said, Joe, they can be big, massive things that might have happened in the day or the previous day, or they could be little everyday, day-to-day things, which often are actually the most powerful things. And, that can be down to as much as it's freezing outside, but I'm inside and I've got the heating on, or I'm really looking forward to a meal tonight, or we went out and had something that was really nice, or I got to go to the cinema yesterday and watch, for me, latest Marvel film, whatever it is. But things that you are grateful for that have happened to you or you've got upcoming, and I say big or as small, and that's the pretense of doing it. And I will say, as you know, I'm not a list man generally, Joe, is I don't do that, but I think I do it in my own way. I really buy into the mindset. So I will, if I'm in the house and there's stuff I've got that I've wanted to have in the past and I've got now, and I will take a moment to acknowledge that. I have in front of me where my work, I've got a big wall here of nerdy things that I like, posters of things I like, or collectibles I've had, or things like that. I've shown you what that is, and I'll sometimes just look at that and be really like appreciative, because I think if they weren't mine and I saw someone else had that, I'd be like, oh, that'd be really cool, I wish I had that. So there's things you can do, I think, just to take those moments to take that in and think about it. But I think the power of it is huge. I think generally as a species, we're predisposed to defensive. That's, from our instincts from back in the wild, running around, killing dinosaurs, whatever it was we used to do back in those days. But you've got a natural inbuilt defence instinct as a species. So if we sense a threat, we will defend ourselves. And I think that can go wider, that you're almost scanning for threats. So I think there is a lean that our minds have to go to what could be perceived as a negative, because this could go wrong, this could be a problem, this could happen. All those things I think are experienced from that survival instinct to one way or another. And I think there's also, we talked about, there's an episode ages ago, I can't even remember the number, I want to guess at 14, and have a look in a minute and we'll see if it really is, that we called Avoid the Moaning Club, because it's so easy to fall into negativity. It's a lot easier to complain about a problem than solve a problem, or it's a lot easier to create the manifestation of a problem to avoid challenges. So, again, and I think all of these root from the same place. And I think it's a fight. I think as people, it's not just be more positive than negative. I think we have to fight our natural urges to be negative. I don't think it's you're just sat in the middle and you can choose to go one way or the other. I think all of that stuff comes in. I saw a really good infographic actually on LinkedIn the other day. There's a guy I've started following. It's the same guy I got the train story from that I talked about a few weeks ago. And he had it was the ladder of accountability, and it was like a ladder up, and you've got your first 4 steps, and it starts with things like blame, denial, can't remember what the others are now. All those things that are the steps where you start, you refuse to even see there's a problem, then you blame other people for it, then it's the can'ts that you can't solve it, and that moves into acceptance of a problem and thinking of ideas, and it goes all the way up until you get to true accountability. And I think it's if you're on that bottom rung, you've almost got to go through all of those steps to get to the top bit. And again, I think without being conscious about it and without working on how you are, the human instinct is almost below that line rather than above it. And don't get me wrong, it's we're in a place where we are above that. We advocate doing that. It's what all this is about. But I do think it's a fight. You have to train yourself. The same that if you never run, your fitness will be really low. We talked off air, Joe. You were saying about how you've got a really high level of fitness right now.
Well, compared to what it was.
But no, don't talk it down. But that's come from doing the work. If you weren't doing the work, you'd be in the bad state, if you like. The same that dieting. If you just eat crap all the time, which is an instinct, it's like that's comfort food. It's a go-to. It's very easy to do, but it's very difficult to not do it, which is what gets you the good results. You have to fight the path of least resistance, which is, again, I think it's a natural state to go to. And I think it's the same with mindset. I think we are built to err towards the cautious, which breeds the negativity, and you have to fight that to get to the other side. And I think that's where the gratitude thing comes in. I think that's one way of training your brain and forcing that and making it something you're surrounded by. And that's where I think the importance of it really comes in.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. And I think it comes down to environment too, what you put in your environment to help you do that. Because like you said, if you surround yourself with people that are always negative, that is going to rub off. And so do you need to change that environment? What do you need to support you? So for me, things I have, I like at the minute, I've got a ton of Stephen Covey books over there, 5 or 6 books, some tennis books. I've just showed Lee actually the next book I'm going to read, Good to Great. I'm trying to surround yourself with that one, things. Joe? It's by Jim Collins. I'm really excited to read it. And what I have learned from this and about gratitude is that if you want to be doing things like gratitude, you've got to surround yourself with doing it. So for me now, I just sometimes go into a zone where I do feel gratitude, but I do have a journal. Now, I haven't written it all every day. In fact, I've probably been off it for about a week. But I go to it, it's there, and I fill it in, when I feel the need to do it now. But I'm always thinking about, what's next? How can I be a bit better? And you talking about gratitude is how can, that bringing that into my life. And actually, there's times when I'm making the bed and I'm just thinking, I'm going to make this bed possible. And then when I've made it and I feel good and I'm grateful that I can do it. I'm grateful that I can have a nice cooked meal. I'm grateful I've got you guys here, doing this podcast. I'm grateful that I found purpose. And all these things have now come much more naturally. And you're absolutely right that we do default to negativity much, much more. It's actually like it is what we default to because of, like you said, the survival instinct, right? We've always had to look for dangers, and it's survival. That's what it is. And we have to consciously not, look at that anxiety, which I think it's anxiety. For me, it was anxiety. And it's about how we are conscious of that and become just more aware of how we are behaving, and can we think and feel, okay, what am I actually thinking right now, what am I actually feeling right now? And if you're feeling feeling in a really difficult place, the best thing to train yourself is in the hard moments.
Absolutely,
so when they talk about training, it's when you said, so to train yourself is when it's hard, that's when you need to do it most, because that's when you'll be tested. So that's why you need like support tools, like books, like journals, like things you can go to use to help you through it. So anxiety is definitely one of them. We naturally are negative. I think Andrew Huberman talked about this, and I think I referenced it in one of the podcasts we had before, right? Where Andrew Huberman said to practice gratitude. He said, if you think of something that happened in the past, an experience, and you can relive it, and you are grateful for that, like someone gave you a big, good, decent bit of feedback, and you can go, oh, I remember that. I feel really gratitude. In fact, I've had some brilliant feedback from a group that I trained, and I've still got the card, and I've got a plant, and I've basically got him downstairs, and I use them as bookmarks. It's a bookmark. Actually, I'll go and get it.
I can see you furiously looking around the room for them then.
Hang on.
While Joe's off looking for them, I'll just remind you all to check us out at inspirationnation.org.uk for everything to do with the podcast, full archive, Inspiration Nation store, detailed coaching service, and most importantly, sign up for Joe's newsletter. You can do that there. Just click on the blog, enter your email details, and you will get some inspiration in your inbox every week. Welcome back.
I just realised. Have you been recording this?
Yes.
Ah, cool, brilliant. Lovely. This is it. This was it. I got a thank you, literally a card. I got some shortbread. I'll give a shout out to them. And I've got some lovely comments like, which one? Let's just think of one. Thank you for all the support during and after training. You made it so easy to settle back into insurance after long being out. So thank you. So things like that. And so I keep them. And I've got like a whole cupboard. And actually it's in my 5 Regrets of Dying book that I keep as a bookmark. So I have all these little reminders of the things. So when I'm not feeling great, I can just look at them and say, I'm making an impact. I am doing things that are good. Okay, today may not be a good day, but there are things that are happening that are good, right? And even today I was talking to Lee about, the growth has been a bit static, and Lee reminded me, I was probably being a bit negative actually, and Lee reminded, but that's not what we look at. We look at the long term. We don't look at the daily. And I was thinking, it's a bit static. We've done this really massive growth daily, and it sort of dropped off a little bit, plateaued a little bit. I was going, and then Lee was going, yeah, but look at the long term. And we have really grown, which is fabulous.
Massively.
So thank you to everybody on TikTok. Thank you to everyone on YouTube who's there. I really appreciate you, because the more likes we get, and also if you're watching on YouTube, please press that like button, like, because it gets the algorithm out. Also, same with TikTok. If you're watching and you're enjoying this, please like and share, because that makes a big difference to the algorithm and gets more out there. So thank you. But that's my take. There's so much. And so that's Andrew Huberman. So you can relive that. So I relived that. When I actually relived that, I actually felt a little bit of an emotion. And they say and he said that's proven science that actually does make you feel better and actually improves how you feel and think about yourself. So that's science for you. Andrew Huberman, you can check him out on Instagram and on YouTube. Very scientific guy. Anyway, there you go.
Thank you for that, Joe.
Me.
No, good input. And I want to do the same. So bringing it back to real life, like we say on here, it's not just textbook stuff we talk about. This is stuff we live and breathe and do. And I, from buying into both, talked a lot about mindfulness on previous podcasts, gratitude, I think has really made a huge positive impact. And this comes from someone where I would say during my 20s, I think of my life in phases, and they all bleed into one. I'm the same person throughout it. There's a lot of consistency gone through it, but I also can really see the differences in myself at different stages in my life. So if we put this block in my 20s, I do think anxiety and worry was a big thing for me. And I think I was going to jump into a whole different conversation there, but we'll leave that. That's an idea for another podcast. But for a part of my 20s, it was there. If I was waiting for something, or if there was a decision to be made, or I needed to rely on someone else accepting something or deciding something, I think I've talked on here the story before about waiting for a car. We were trading in another one. There wasn't an issue with the documents. They just needed to check something, but I was like, it's not going to work. They're not going to do it. And I was like, really, before anything happened, got into it. And that was me. That's what I did. And through loads of different stages, I've heard to more, taking control and being positive and all of that sort of stuff. And I think gratitude is a big part of that. Being able to... The converse to it is people are always like, well, I want this, that person's got that, why can't I have this? And you're always looking forward, but with almost like a victim complex attached to it. And I think that's the opposite to gratitude, where it's like, I've got this, and I've built this, and this is better than it was before, or actually this isn't as good, but it still could be this, and taking pleasure in the small things. I think that, again, me now having that mentality has pulled me from that place where I would have been envious of other people, or looking for other things, or feeling like I could never do something because someone else has, and now really focusing on what I've got and what I can achieve and what I can build and what I can do. And again, gratitude is a huge anchor for that. And it's, it's not just talk. This genuinely has happened. My mindset has gone from here to here, and it's because of these things. Now that's the kind of inspiration I want to give this week, is just getting people to try whatever way works. Again, I don't write it down. I do it as more of a in and out thing in my head. So I'm about and doing things and seeing things, but I have certain things that are almost like my triggers to remind me, oh, I'm glad I've got this, or I'm glad I did that, or I'm glad I could see that. And it just puts you in a more positive space. And I think it just makes everything better when you're doing that. It's not just that one thing. It starts to resonate in your whole life. Like you said, Joe, about how you surround yourself with things. If you're conscious to do that, like I said, for this person I follow on LinkedIn, comes up all the time, and it gives these great, for me, aren't just new learnings, but they would have been years ago. They're now affirmations of those things. Like, oh yeah, I remember that, or I do that, or I did that and I stopped it, and I should start trying it again. And I think it all balls up in that same mindset, which ultimately, like I said, you can't just choose to be negative or positive. You have to fight against the negativity like you do all those other things. But the choice is, you have to choose to fight against it. And once you've made that choice, that's the first step, and it all starts moving ahead. So I don't think it's just choosing positivity. It's choosing to fight against the negativity. And once you do that, you start the ball rolling.
You're right. And that thing about positivity, I don't like fake positivity.
No, 100%.
That's almost like avoiding the whole thing. You can't avoid, the negativity. You've got to almost like acknowledge it and then make the changes you need. And that's when you said about you're following someone on LinkedIn, that's what I mean. It's like your social media right now, who do you follow? I've done this before, I think, on the podcast. Who do you follow? So you need to find out who you follow, why you follow, unfollow the people that are bringing you down, that do not add anything to your life, and follow people that add value, that bring something. So I know we've talked about on the podcast, Simon Squibb, Mark Drager, Evan Carmichael. I can just scroll through my social media. My feed will be about people trying to make a difference, instead of all that stuff about, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Go on.
You were going to swear. I could feel it.
No. I didn't feel it actually, but so it's about, when you're not feeling great, when your environment, when you put on your phone and what's on your phone. So actually, I just changed my phone to a picture of my my beloved. Right, it was a picture of me and my beloved. Then now it's just a picture of my beloved on my phone, and it's a great picture. Every time I look at it, I smile at it. So it's creating that environment to say, God, I'm so glad I'm with my beloved, right? And it's like we've been together for 25 years, and I can still feel like that. And it's those moments and those things. Like even now, looking, I've got the books, I've got things. I've even got my look. even here, husband Valentine's Day, I've got the card. This is where I work, so I've got personal development, I've got pictures, I've got, this, it helps me become grateful. And do you know what it's all come down to? It's come down to that self-awareness and actually create an environment that harnesses that gratitude. And that's what you've got to build, because if you're not feeling gratitude right now, it's probably because you've not built the environment for it. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, always says it's about what you have in your environment. So if you want to eat better, you've got to start eliminating things that you don't eat, right? Or start putting stuff in that you are going to eat. Now, I know some people, like Evan Carmichael, will say, well, look, what I like to do is so when Carmichael did it before, he did it the other way. This might work for you, right? For him to like not eat Doritos, and I don't want to like go on too long, but he basically put a bag of Doritos in front of him every day, and he would say, I'm stronger than Doritos. So he'd have that as a reminder to remind him not to eat them by having them. So that might work for you, right? Same with gratitude. You could have something that it may be something that gives you the opposite of it. I don't know. It depends on what sort of person you are. But for me, I want to have things that it's an easy go-to. It's easy to do. It's actionable. Like I've got my journal downstairs. Like I sit downstairs in the morning and I'll go, I'm going to write in the journal. It's there. The pen is there. The book is there. And so I can do all these things. And like I'm very conscious, like you say, about recording all the bits and pieces and having them there. So if I need them, they're there. But actually, as I'm thinking now, even I've almost like unconsciously built it because I've been constantly thinking, but now it's unconscious, that almost that unconscious competence now. Like we talked about that learning data, that I'm doing this without almost like thinking about it, but creating that environment all the time to like do these things now, like making the bed and all that. That's all almost automatic, but I sometimes go, I'm really grateful for that. And it will just be that moment. So it is I just really do think actually from this whole conversation, the big thing I've taken away is it is your environment that dictates whether you will train yourself. And the first steps are always the most hardest steps. I know when I suffer my mental health, the first steps are actually to make a step and actually acknowledge that I'm not in a great place is the first step to starting to create change. And then just doing it very small, not thinking I've got to go and do this and do that, because you get overwhelmed and then you don't do it and then it's too big. It's about small, tiny, 1% actions every single day that are repeatable, that are easy to repeat for you, right? So for Lee, it might be, like you say, thinking about whatever, but a trigger. For me, it's like, waking up, maybe having having the cards in as you use them as bookmarks. It reminds me, right? Whatever is easiest for you is what you've got to tap into. So anyway, Lee, that is really environment. I think really would in harnessing an environment of gratitude and actually designing right towards it will really help you push through those difficult times if you find it hard to develop that sort of habit.
100%. Don't think I could give any better advice myself, Joe. I just want to shout as well. So on LinkedIn, Dr. Jorg, if I'm saying that right, Joerg Storm. Dr. George Storm is who I'm following. There's loads of really, just again, little snippets of positivity every day.
Can you send me the details? I'd like to follow them on LinkedIn. Absolutely, are they on Instagram or anything like that?
I've not had a look yet. Hold on, I'll look off screen on my phone. Maybe not. I'll find out, but I'll send you the details. I'll stick a post on Twitter with that as well. But that is who I've been following. I'd say I can't advocate it for it anymore. If you do practice gratitude, well done to you. You are on that path. If you don't, start today. Start now. Just get a bit of paper, write down 3 things, form it into a habit. It will change your life, 100%. And like Joe says, build that out. Take those little actions, but part of those little actions can be build your environment. What does your social media look like? What does your workspace look like? What does your home space look like? And just make those conscious decisions to fight the negativity.
And make it as easy as possible for you to take those actions. That's what 100%. I'd say. Do you have to have the notebook out in front of you by your bedside or something? I don't know, whatever, right? To make it easy for you to record the 3 things, right? Whatever's easiest. This is because your brain will always default to easy, right? Your brain will always want to do the easiest thing, so make it easy for your brain to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe, absolutely. So, I think anything else there?
Yes,
I think that's wrapped up a wonderful subject. Everyone out there, we really appreciate you. We are coming up on our 4-year anniversary soon. We appreciate everyone supporting the show. tell friends, tell family, get people to listen. That's what helps us grow. And as Joe mentioned earlier, the algorithms, we need the support from them. So if you're with us live right now, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast player, whatever time this is, just come back out, hit subscribe, hit the review button, hit the 5-star button. Same on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at ListenToIN, listen TOIN. Get all the details for everything. And of course, head over to inspirationnation.org.uk. Get some Inspiration Nation merch. Sign up for the newsletter. Full archive of all our shows. By the way, the Moaning Club, Joe, episode 10. I was close. I said 12.
Oh my word,
episode 10.
So long ago. It doesn't feel that long ago, though, does it?
No, that was 2.5 months into what has been almost a 4-year journey so far. We will be likely recording next week. Again, TikTok, YouTube, hit subscribe. It will tell you when we go live. But on or very close to what is the exact 4-year anniversary of the first episode going up.
Love it.
The
I can't
14th
believe
of
it.
March
It's gone so
of
quickly.
2019 is when we started on this.
Mad. And it's before the pandemic.
It was before
The pandemic. We've got I can't believe anyway, we'll do this next week because
absolutely we will. That's a little preview.
Yeah.
Again, if you like what you're hearing, hit subscribe, like, review, etc., etc. All that good stuff. I've either had not too much coffee or too much coffee because my brain's going all over the place right now.
Are they caffeinated? Is it caffeinated this time of
It's very
night?
caffeinated, Joe.
At this time of night? You're not going to sleep.
I'll be fine. I will be fine. Right, I think all that is left for me to do is give us a countdown.
Yeah, go on.
I will say 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys
Catch
later.
you guys later. Thank you, Lee. Thanks, TikTok.